Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then we're available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
HOTspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same models of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ plus community. Our mission? Support the 10 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are a part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, HOTspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Well, let's welcome anchor Fay What. She's a radio and television personality and is the host of the Fay What Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning program, Mondays at 9 a.m., and then on demand on all streaming and social media platforms. She's also a hostess and MC for many South Florida events. Welcome, Fay.
Hello, boys, and I'm super excited. Excuse me, sorry. I'm really excited to be sitting at this table with four of my favorite people. Like that almost never happens. Just take a picture, home. These are the people I like.
Look to the right. Sure?
There's no shade.
She uses me to throw the shade.
It kind of blacked out.
Let's welcome John Hayden. Speaking of shade, a journalist for 28 years. He is now the senior reporter for Out South Florida. You can follow him on Instagram at John Hayden Journalist for breaking news and live reports from community events. Welcome, John.
Thank you so much, Al. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I will be one of my live reports that I'll do this weekend. Julian's Fountain of Youth, and where Fay's going to be hosting. So yeah, well, excited.
I'm a judge. Is it too early to say that I can be bought? All right, let's welcome Elimination. He's a pansexual member of the kink and fetish community, an educator and community leader. He was the founding president of Onyx Deep South and also represented our community at International Mr. Leather as Mr. Ramrod. Besides his charitable works, he campaigns for self-acceptance with his I Am Enough initiative. Welcome, Elimination.
Well, thank you. And I concur. This is a great place to be for this time. And I, too, am gearing up for a wonderful leather opportunity starting here in October. So I'm excited to see all you guys around throughout the month of October.
Next, let's welcome anchor Dino Mosquera. He joined the Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival in the late 1990s and now serves on the Outshine Film Festival's board of directors. Welcome, Dino.
Thank you, Al. Just to remind you, the Fort Lauderdale edition of the Outshine Film Festival is coming to the Gateway and the Savor October 19th to the 29th. We hope to see you there.
Going to be exciting. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with our queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, September 27th. Let's begin by queering up South Florida and Florida. Queer News Tonight, including me, is going to help kick off the weekend for the reverse Quinceanera. Wilton Collective and Julian's Fountain of Youth present their annual Reverse event. The event is set for Saturday, September 30th, 2023, in the Crystal Ballroom at the Manor, and is expected to be the largest and most scandalous yet. The highlight of this entertainment-packed night will be the premiere of a new chapter in their telenovela that follows the campy trials and tribulations of Myrna. There will be a feisty and fun talent competition between South Florida's fiercest drag queens to fit the theme of Drag Queen of the Night. Prizes for the competitors are $1,500 for first place, $750 for second place, and $500 for third place. Though the event is starting on Saturday, the fun will begin before that. On Friday, September 29th, will be the day of the Mix and Mingle at Wilton Collective to kick off the weekend for the Reverse Quinceanera. And I, of course, I'm excited to say, will be attending alongside Fay What. I will be bartending at the Mix and Mingle to help raise money for the Wilton Collective and Jay Foy. And Friday is a free event with complimentary bar to support Julian's Fountain of Youth. Then on Saturday's Reverse event will be hosted by Fay. Well, I will be one of the judges at the event. You don't want to miss this extravaganza. Tickets for the event will start from $50 and are available from jfoy.org. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to the bartending event. I've done this once before on Friday night. John and I have been regular hangouts at the Friday night, mostly because of the free vodka.
I thought that.
And that's really it. And so this time I get to serve all of the vodka I want and consume all of the...
No,
I don't
no,
get
Al, you know you have to serve it to other people besides yourself, right?
That's how that
That's how
works.
that
Yeah.
That's how you make money and raise money for Julian's Fountain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited. It's a great weekend, and let me just remind everybody. I know all of us know it, but for those that might not know about the Wilton Collective and Julian's Fountain of Youth, it is a nonprofit that is specifically designed to help LGBT young people. They can work in the collective. They get on-the-job training, skills. One of the many events that they do through the year, but one of the big events is they take many LGBT teenagers to Orlando for Gay Days OMW weekend. They stay on the Disney property for the weekend, and they go to Red Shirt Saturday. Can you imagine you're 15 or 16 years old, go to the Magic Kingdom in whatever your experiences has been as an LGBT youth and see 20,000 gay people in red shirts.
I can't even imagine.
That's what Julian's Fountain of Youth does. They deserve our support.
Yes, they do.
And you're going to be the host of the big party.
Yes, I was the host last year, Al. And what an incredible organization, my God, Jay Foy is and Julian is. And Wilton Collective, man, if you need a last-minute outfit, go to Wilton Collective. You'll come out with some... I wore a Calvin Klein dress last week that I got from there, all right? Anyway, so, it's just going to be an awesome event. And let's talk about the drag queens. So I sat down with Julian today, and I'm like, dude, tell me who's competing. He won't freaking tell me.
I interviewed him last weekend. It was like I was going to have to pull out a baseball bat, and he said, no, I'm not.
And I'm like, okay, does it sound like P chords? Is her name Fazy Fed Pedals?
Yes. or
Kimberly
Bamia Door.
Right. I'm like, geez. I'm like, come on, tell me. But here's the thing. In South Florida, we've got the best of the best when it comes to these drag queens, right? And these drag queens work their asses off. $1,500 for a night is a good night. So these girls are coming to slay.
And Faye, I've got to prompt you. Explain for guests that have never been, never bought a ticket to this, explain the telenovela. And the problems of Myrna.
I think that Dino can totally co-sign on this. When it comes to Latino, like our Latin ladies love their stories. That's what they call them, right?
Stories.
And that's what it is. That's what it is. It's a telenovela. It's like, es que te dije que no, nunca lo voy a hacer. Es mi hermano. Like
Atrevida.
Atrevida. ¿Cómo va a ser? Like
love
that.
This.
And that's how every telenovela goes, right? And so the last couple of years, we followed Myrna through her adventures, She's lost a husband. She's now remarried.
I hear in this version of it's an actual...
telenovela.
Yeah, you're going to watch it in video, and then it becomes live.
Yes.
I hear rumor that she's kind of got herself into a family way this time.
Oh, are you going to spill the beans on that?
Well, no, it's in all of the publicity.
I didn't know if that test came back positive, but I guess maybe it did.
Ay, Amanda!
As the drama continues.
Santa Maria, Madre
You know,
de
and that's funny. Dino, who is more drama-filled, Latinos and their telenovela, or the gay community? Which is more drama-filled? Because it seems like it's the same.
And then you get a room full of Latinos that are also LGBT. That's real drama right there, my friend.
Get all the drag queens from Miami, all the Latinas to come here. And actually, I was just thinking of your dress last year at the Halloween party. That would be a great a great quinceanera.
What
really
Dino is
funny.
talking about is I went to Halloween dressed as Fay What.
Yes.
A
Dragging
bad Fay What. Thank you.
No, but that would be great for bartending.
People said I was.
That would make me want to drink more. So yeah, you should.
Everybody said I was beautiful, and that
I have a
Faye,
picture.
you've never looked better.
Yes.
That's what I heard 100 times.
You know, I talked with Julian leading up to this. If you want to get a little bit more excited about this, or you're not quite sure, check out my articles in Outclick and This Week in Out South Florida. We really go into it, and he was so excited. We talked right before they were getting ready to shoot this year's edition of Myrna, and I was in his office, and let's just say there were a lot of props and a lot of fabulous clothes, a lot of sequin, and even a little outfit for his little dog too. Yeah. So I can't wait to see it. It's going to be so great.
And just one more thing before John, you continue. Let's remember all of this fun. I interviewed Julian last week. I laughed all the way through it of the anticipation of this event in the telenovela. But let's not forget, think about bringing 30 teenagers to Disney World for a Red Shirt Saturday.
Yeah.
That's what you're supporting.
Yep.
It's golden in terms of what you are contributing. Come on, get out there and help support this incredible event. And watch Faye host.
Yeah.
All right, next, let's queer up Out South Florida. Smart Ride teams and beneficiaries refuse to call it quits. The end of the Smart Ride isn't just the end of an era. It's the start of a new chapter for the people who made the ride so iconic. Since I broke the news of the decision to end the event, the Smart Ride community has wondered, what now? Spoiler alert, riding off into the sunset is not an option. Compass is a Smart Ride beneficiary and Palm Beach County's go-to resource for LGBTQ+. They received more than $142,000 from the last ride, a funding gap that's not easily made up. Their Smart Ride money has paid for everything from utility bills to life-saving surgeries. Compass CEO Julie Seaver told me, quote, "We all have the capacity to sustain or increase our events. We absolutely intend to carry on the spirit of the Smart Ride with us in continuing our fundraising efforts to help those in need," end quote. Meanwhile, one of the ride's most prolific, long-running fundraising teams, the Key West Mile Markers, has filed incorporation papers and pledged to keep raising money. Indeed, the leaders of the ride say over 20 years they've given people the tools to raise money without the Smart Ride umbrella. But organizers took care of sponsorship, so all the money raised by riders, 100%, went back to the communities. Will the new iterations be as effective? We'll see, but kudos to them for trying. You can read more of my exclusive coverage at outsfl.com now and on stands starting Thursday. And that's the question, because, I mean, yes, these groups have put together fundraisers over the years. Some of them are incredibly fun. Mm-hmm. They're all incredibly fun. I haven't been to one that hasn't yet. But the Smart Ride organizers, Glenn and his fabulous team, they do all the dirty work. They go out, they get the sponsors who pay for
the housing,
for some of the housing like and the security, police protection as we go down the thing. I don't know if they'll be able to do this or at least be able to do 100% like Smart Ride did, because now they're going to have to pick up the overhead costs. But they have put together wonderful organizations or wonderful fundraisers. Like I said, talking with Julie at Compass gave me hope, gave me a little bit of good vibes. She and her team do great works, and I just want to say personally, I appreciate you.
So, John, you've spoken to everybody involved at this point when it comes to this, okay? I hear rumors of like people saying stuff like, can't another organization just come and take it over? Like, is that even a possibility to do that now? Or is it that they want to leave it with the beneficiaries and walk away?
It is possible.
Okay.
The president of the board, of Smart Ride's board, told me that it was possible to keep it going, but they decided that this was the best option. They said they don't want to do a lesser iteration of the ride and giving it to someone else who hasn't, been there or, has this kind of organization.
It's 20 years, John.
It's 20 years. And it's one of those things where I think you and Al and I have said this last week. We said, the ride is Friday and Saturday. You drive back from Key West on Sunday, and then the organizers start putting it together on Monday. It's a lot, and they didn't want to hand it off to someone who doesn't understand, who just understands the money of it. That's so much more.
One thing that I want to make sure, and I know a substantial number of people watched the interview that I did with Glenn Weinzimmer and Todd Delmay, and I just want to draw back attention to something that was discussed extensively in that interview. Glenn Weinzimmer almost dies. He was within, doctor said,
they gave him 10 days.
Yeah,
Ow.
10 days in 1993 of full-blown AIDS. And he survived that, and they continued giving him a couple of years. And he stabilized through the process. In 2003, he participated in Clear Channel's AIDS ride. That was the precursor of what Glenn did in helping to become the founder of Smart Ride. But he tells the story that the reason why he was so motivated to work on the creation of Smart Ride and the way Smart Ride worked is because of what he watched in LGBT fundraising. And just saying LGBT, nonprofit, charity fundraising does not necessarily mean LGBT, nonprofit, and charity fundraising. And he illustrates a story that, to no fault, he wagged a finger, I think, at everyone involved, in that that fundraising event raised $1 million, and only $60,000 went to beneficiaries. And he makes the challenge of, wait, all of this money is being raised, but it's really not going where it needs to go. And hence, that is how Smart Ride forms. How it forms in 100% give back, and any expenses are outside of the donation process of Smart Ride. That it will be almost impossible to repeat. Almost impossible to repeat, because the board and Glenn Weinzimmer's commitment to that model requires a tremendous fortitude that likely is not going to be repeated. So a ride could happen, but how much of the money is going to go back to beneficiaries, and how the beneficiaries share it, and how riding teams get contributed in their fundraising. This is way more complicated, to your question, than can't somebody else do it? Yeah. Well, probably not, to be honest with you. And that's what Glenn explains. And that makes sense to me.
And then, also buy-in, the 20 years, folks have really came together and bought into that mission, knowing where all the money goes. So people really go all out. Like, I know friends who fundraise and they do their own special events to help raise money for Smart Ride. I know people who go die hard. The motorcycle group who does help with security, like, they believe in where it's going to happen. And so if you don't have that buy-in and that transparency of here's the reason why.
Transparency. That's a good
how
word.
We can truly, where this money goes, the buy-in may not be there, and so it cannot be duplicated. It cannot be, maybe another variation. Yeah. But they have to have that true transparency, true buy-in.
I completely agree with that observation. One of the things we're all hearing, the rumors and conversation going on behind the scenes. I draw back to that interview with Glenn that was very powerful to me. His story was very powerful. But the other thing that was very powerful is to say, the major events that go into the fundraising will continue on. He gave the example in Tampa Bay of one of the big events. John tells the Key West Club team, those fundraisers are going to continue, and 100% of what they do will go to them, because those kind of events will continue on. I hear rumors, for example, behind the scenes, well, let's continue with Smart Ride, but it won't go to Key West anymore. Well, if it doesn't go to Key West, it fundamentally changes what Smart Ride is all about. So you can't do that, because then you're no longer Smart Ride. And if somebody wants to do a bike fundraiser, they can do that now. They don't need Smart Ride to do that.
No.
So go ahead and do that. I think it's too early for us to conclude. I think John's doing a good job in what he is pursuing, but it's too early to see and say what is next. And one last thought that I hope we will continue, our whole community will stay focused on. There is a goal for November 17th and 18th to raise $2 million. If they raise $2 million, it is the most successful event, I think, ever in the history of South Florida, from a grassroots, 100% donation organization and fundraising. I hope we will get through November 18th, and then whatever else happens on November 19th, we can start to quarterback at that moment. But that $2 million goal, our entire community should get behind, I think.
And one last thing, Glenn Weinzimmer will be on the Fay What Show Monday morning at 9 a.m. So make sure that you tune in and watch that. Okay?
Wait, I got to ask you about that in terms of plug. I heard that Glenn's going to come to your show and he's going to describe the kind of dress or something, because somebody was telling me.
He asked me if he could bring his CPAP machine because he can't live without it. And I said, of course, bring it, Bobby. I don't want you to die in bed with me. Can you imagine Glenn Weinzimmer, founder of the Smart Ride, dies in bed with lesbian Fay What?
Yeah.
No!
Yeah. I think that would make great headlines for the Fay What Show and for the Smart Ride. So I'm all in for that.
You get $4 million for that alone.
Folks, tune in Monday, all right?
Monday.
Okay, next, let's queer up gay culture. The HOTspots happening out, Art Gallery pays tribute to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. On Saturday, October 7th, the HOTspots happening out, Art Gallery with Dennis Dean will pay tribute to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I will be hosting the event, and it runs from 6 to 9 p.m. The event will feature known artists, including Suzanne Barton, Sammy Davidson, Penny Frazier, Patty Doolittle, Rosaria Vigorito, Karen Frischman, Pia Duggar, and Franklin Sananan to celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Apart from the mentioned artists, visitors will get to witness the creations of Silvana Arbach, Morgan Chesanis Gonzalez, Maxine Palpko, and Monica L. Solis. Sponsored by Sterling and the R Fund Foundation and catered by Union Kitchen and Bar, the event will help to spread awareness around an important issue of breast cancer. The artists at the event will be featured by Arts United, a nonprofit arts organization founded to support the local lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community. The event also appreciates the support offered by the American Cancer Society and 305 Pink Pack. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is an annual international health campaign organized by major breast cancer charities every October to increase awareness of the disease and raise funds for research into its cause, prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and cure. For more information on the event, you can visit hotspotsmagazine.com/Art Gallery. And I am super excited. You folks all know that I'm a cancer survivor, and it's been 2.5 years that I'm cancer free, and I couldn't be happier. But the reality is that 2.3 million women were diagnosed last year with breast cancer. 685,000 died, okay? And Black and brown folks, we're at the top of that list, man. We are at the top of that list because we don't get checked and we're afraid of healthcare, and I can go on and on and on. Nutrition, at this point, mammograms are free, folks. So you could just have to do the research for it, okay? The reason that I am sitting here right now, honestly, is because I caught it early. And yeah, I caught it early because of vanity. I wanted to get my breast done, and that's how I found out. But here it is. I found out so early that I get to sit with you now. And I just hope that other breast cancer folks can do the same, and that we don't speak about it like this on and on and on. Again, Black and brown folks have higher incidences than any other to get breast cancer. So get checked out. If you have it in your family, get checked out together, all right? The sooner you do it, the better. And I hope to see everybody there.
Fay, can I jump in? I love the intersection of this story. First off, we clearly in the LGBTQ plus community, we do not do enough for our Black community. We do not do enough for our trans community. We do not do enough for our Latino community, and we do not do enough for our lesbian and queer women. And I'm stopping because I'm not including privileged older white men in not doing enough for. So I love the intersection of this story because first, a lot of people do not realize we're so lucky here. The art gallery, Dennis Dean Art Gallery, that is produced by HOTspots magazine and happening out. We're all proud to be associated with this. First and foremost, because it's the only dedicated LGBT full-time year-round art gallery in all of America. In Wilton Manor.
And it's perfectly in Wilton Manor.
And perfectly in Wilton Manor. So it's like Stonewall and it's like the World AIDS Museum. We're blazing some trails here. And sometimes we forget, my goodness, look what we're doing in our community. Second, when this came up in conversation, and the conversation of you, Fay is the host of this art gallery event. A Latino, a lesbian queer woman, a breast cancer survivor, for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The intersection, you let that wash over you of value. And one, which is fabulous. And one last thing that I want to make sure that I mention, you talk about the number of people that contracted breast cancer and the number of people that died. This is not exclusively a woman's disease.
No, it's not.
And a lot of people do not realize, and if you know the details of it, I know you will if you don't currently. But talk about Dennis Dean, the intersection of his story connected with it.
That's a whole other thing. And let me just say that, like, when I first got breast cancer, right? When I was first diagnosed, nobody had my back more than everybody here at Happening Out Television Studios. Let me start by saying that. But now here we are 2.5 years later, and I wanted to stand up for breast cancer awareness since I went through it, right? So when I brought up the subject, I'm ashamed of myself because I automatically thought all these boys are not going to give a crap about this. They're not going to want to do this, right? And I had like my stats ready, and I was going to say, look, we all have a mom, a sister, a best friend, a cousin, right, that have titties. Okay? And they can get breast cancer and you can lose them. So this affects you too, boys. I had the stats ready and I didn't have to say much. They were like, okay, we're going to put something together. What do you want to do? And then when they said Dennis Dean, I was like, hell to the yeah. Then Dennis, I had no idea that he lost his sister to breast cancer 10 years ago. So he asked me to recreate a picture that was recreated 10 years ago on the anniversary of his sister's death. So there will be a picture of me, okay, only wrapped in a pink bow. That's it. And it will be the size of a wall. I'm not ready for that. I'm super insecure. But the reality is that it's for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so I don't care. And it's going to be fantastic.
Fabulous.
Scars and all.
I love the fact that you took the shine, because I wanted to make sure that we all knew that we all have someone who's affected. You know, I lost a mom, and so I march yearly with the Susan J. Coleman Walk, and I took my mom's picture. But not just my mom, I lost a half sibling. I've lost a mentor. And that's just me directly affected. So our folks out there, we are affected whether we know it or not, because we don't. And so it's more than that we have to support our siblings like Fay. We got to lift you up and say, you know what, thank you for surviving. And then also hold each other close for those who have lost someone, and it's us dealing with it day by day by day. We have to, hold those people close too and say, you know what, we see you, we love you, but here's how we can support and the memory of those people. So therefore, it won't be in vain.
That's right.
Definitely.
We also have to produce more numbers in terms of how many people, lesbians, the lesbian community, or, even particularly the lesbian community, how much is affected by breast cancer in numbers, in percentage. We need to know that, because that motivates also people to understand how this is affecting our community.
If I may say, the reason why that observation is so powerful is, and both observations are so powerful, is because we don't come together in the frequency that we should come together to support all of the different, in business it's called silos. Lesbian is a silo, Latino is a silo, Black is a silo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't come together enough to support all of the silos. And in that instance, the mere fact that we have to do that and find those numbers to justify why we would talk about it is the reason Fay goes, I walked into the conversation of guys, boys, gay men, whatever, at HOTspots and Happening Out, we really should be paying attention to this. She walks into it, I'm not putting words into your mouth, but she walks into it feeling like she has to do that because we don't think, we don't wear it on our sleeve that this is important. And that's the indication of why we've got to get the numbers, because it should be important just because it's important. We know it is. and in our community, we're not paying enough attention to it. The intersection of this event at the gallery, I can't wait now. I did not know that story until now. It's just a perfect intersection of so many different things that says great things for our community. Yep. Very proud to be associated with it.
Next, let's square up LGBTQ plus civil rights. A new survey ranks the United States as a C in human rights globally. A new report ranked the United States 31 out of 136 countries, a score that is expected to fall in the wake of hundreds of bills targeting anti-LGBTQ plus rights across the country. The report is based on the lived realities of more than 167,000 queer people surveyed worldwide, trailing behind France, Vietnam, and Hong Kong. But the United States is also headed toward a failing grade. The report also shows that Uruguay, Luxembourg, Brazil, Norway, Colombia, Malta, and Chile are the countries that best uphold the human rights of their LGBTQ plus citizens. The report is based on the annual study conducted by a partnership led by Franklin and Marshall College, which delves into a country's policies and as well as climate. It gave more than half of the world, 62%, an F. As per the report, the United States has scored a C, or resisting grade, when it comes to LGBTQ plus human rights. The latest report looks at data from 2020. Since then, hundreds of anti-LGBTQ plus bills have flooded and passed state legislators, most of them targeting transgender youth. In 2023, U.S. state houses saw more than 700 anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced, and lawmakers passed more than 70 of them. Susan Deklich Nelson, professor of government at Franklin and Marshall College, and the study's founder, said that Florida alone would lower the whole country's human rights score because of the state-passed anti-trans legislation, as well as the colloquial known Don't Say Gay bill. So I must say, I was surprised at the C. I automatically knew that we were far, far, far down. So in preparation, I did my research. There are at least 500 bills currently being discussed over healthcare, school education, free speech and expression, civil rights, ID, and others. And I totally agree that Florida is going to bring us down because Florida alone, within our state alone, healthcare, civil rights, and ID are being thrown all the way around. And if you look at these numbers specifically, shows you why we are truly on the trajectory to really bring the entire world down. And it's crazy because, again, the things that we all take for granted, our siblings, especially our trans youth, have to fight. Safety of travel. If your ID doesn't match, will you travel? Can you get health care? The prosecution of those folks who are truly trying to help. All of this will currently bring down our community.
Black history being taken out of schools. We can go on and on and on. I mean, come on. Like, seriously, I was thinking more like a D, bitches. I'm sorry. I was not like a C. Right. Like, no, there's no way. Because C used to be my score in school for freaking everything. And I was like, I passed, bitch. That's all that matters, right? But
now
I mean,
you're here.
And now I'm here, you know? But I mean, think about it. Black and brown people murdered at such a high rate. Trans children not getting their gender affirming care. I mean, we can go on and on. The list is long. Those 500 bills are just like the tail end because there've already been 300 more before that.
Absolutely.
You know, and there will be 500 more after that. So that C is given with sweetness.
Well, that's because, Steve, can we bring the map back of the world map? Because I think that the C, like New York and California are bringing up, because the U.S. is all just one big
Yellow.
cone.
Yellow, right.
But if you broke it down, like, red Texas, because F is failing. The deepest red Texas and deep Florida, if we could put that on there. Look at that. China's at least pink. They're failing, but they're close to getting it passed. Florida would be worse than China.
Absolutely.
On this map. Let that sink in. And, you know, it's one of those things, it's like, it's so normalized now, at least in Florida and parts of America, that, like, when we were talking about this story before the show, we were like, we almost laughed because it's like, well, of course Florida's going to bring us down. And that's just the way it is. China, better than Florida. That's just so wrong.
You know what also bothered me about this? That a lot of that red that we see in countries, particularly in Africa, and it's in big part because of the money and influence of religious groups, extreme religious group in the United States that are exporting our homophobia into laws in these countries in Africa.
Wow.
So it's not just here in the U.S. It's just we're not happy just with people like Ron DeSantis and ruining our rights here in the state of Florida, but we're also exporting this to other countries in Africa, particularly because they need the money. So they come with money and then try to get these laws passed to affect gays and lesbians in countries in Africa.
31. We're number 31 out of 131 in this survey. Next year, the Olympics will be in Paris, and for me, I'm an Olympics junkie, and one of the great moments in opening ceremonies, at many of the events, swimming, track and field, many other things. One of the great moments is whether you're an American fan at the Olympics or many fans from around the world, you begin to hear the chant, USA, USA, USA. It is a representation that we represent the best in the world. Our gross economic strength is double number 2. China's a powerhouse. We're double China. And in so many ways, you can represent and show how the United States system, our commitments, our participation in the world, the amount of money that we give to countries all over the world. We're unparalleled in certainly the last 100 years to anyone else in the world. So we're chanting USA, 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 but when you begin to talk about civil rights for the Black community in America, we fall way, way down. We're not even close to a top 31. When we talk about the embracement of women's rights, we fall way down on the list.
Yep.
When we talk about minority embracements in Latino, Asian Pacific, we're way down the list. You're not chanting USA, USA, because we're not even close to the place where we can even say we're that. And what makes it worse is many of the countries that are around us in this polling of number 31, it'll shock you, are African countries. We're close. There's 5 African countries close to us in this sitting of that. And the reason is because in Africa, they have a fraction of the diversity that we have in the United States. But unfortunately, diversity brings hate, which is why we pass these laws in diversity against Black people, taking away women's right to choose, against other ethnic minorities, including religious minority and Latino and other minorities, and LGBT. And that's why we're sitting on this list. So for all of us that think we're the best thing since sliced bread, America is. Except in how we treat people. And that's what this poll represents, how much work is to be had.
Okay, next, let's square up politics. Social activists meet anti-woke as Governor Newsom and Governor DeSantis to debate in November. A day has officially been set for a taunting challenge between California Governor Gavin Newsom and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. According to Fox News, the 2 governors will debate in person on November 30th in Georgia. As per the reports, Fox News anchor Sean Hannity will moderate the 90-minute long show that will air during the 9 p.m. Eastern time slot of his show, Hannity. A Fox News spokesperson on Monday declined to say whether Hannity agreed to Newsom's terms of no live audience. The debate comes a month after the Florida Republican and California Democrat agreed to participate in a debate hosted by Fox News after repeated pointed sparring over policies in each other's states. Hannity first raised the idea of a debate with Newsom during an interview in June, following which DeSantis signed on to participate. DeSantis has mocked Newsom's handling of homelessness and quality of life crimes and ridiculed California for overdoing its stricter approach to the pandemic, while Newsom has taunted DeSantis over his ability to beat former President Donald Trump in the Republican primary. The debate could raise the national profile of Newsom and DeSantis, who is currently a GOP presidential candidate. Newsom has opted out of a 2024 run for president. I just can't wait to see a debate between these two, even if it's on Fox News. I mean, Newsom.
Not just Fox News. Sean
Hannity on top. I never seen Sean Hannity, like, full disclosure. So, but I can't wait to see Newsom,
Kick his ass.
kick his ass.
See it.
I'm curious. Do you think that's what's going to happen?
I sure hope so. Listen, I hope that this debate between Newsom and DeSantis goes to the death. And then I hope that Jennifer and Casey DeSantis decide to wrestle in Jell-O.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right after pay-per-view, you can make a lot of money.
Speaking of making a lot of money, I would love to. I mean, I don't really love this. But I do hope they go without a live audience, so we might be able to approach something of a respectful dialogue, even though they're not going to.
Newsom can accept if they don't say no.
Yeah, I don't
Sean
think
Hannity, the people that will come in, the crazy.
It would be
of the
horrible.
crazy.
I have to agree with
But
you.
I would like to see Fox say that they're going to donate any money that they make off this, their ads or stuff like that. I would love to see them, if the two sides can find a charity or to benefit from this. I would like to see that, because this should not be a money making.
But is that what it is?
Event.
Like, what is the payout to this? Like, why?
Rating.
Well, the ad rates will be through the roof. The ad rates will be
It's going
through
to be
the
the
roof.
first test of the new president. The old man is stepping down, and this is going to be the first big test of the new president.
I went fight to the death, and then let's have round 2, round 3. But what I laugh about this when we led into the story, the anti-woke governor who is really woke about his own accomplishments. So how you only anti-woke when it doesn't fit your own agenda. So that truly makes me funny. It's funny to me how he will address how he speaks in I statements, what I've done, how I've done Florida, how I've done this, how we've done this, but will not allow anyone else to be woke in their own acceptance and woke for their own needs. The craziness. So fight to the death, and let's just get rid of them.
You know
And you're going to get more opposite than them.
Right, more just fight to the death.
And I don't like that this is giving an extra platform to Ron DeSantis, who is an actual presidential campaign, and he's got several other people that are running against him for the nomination. Whereas Gavin Newsom isn't technically running for anything. Yes, will this be his national coming out party if it goes well? Yes, absolutely.
John,
but Ron DeSantis,
wait. Let me challenge that observation.
Yeah.
Don't you think that the conclusion of November 30th is that in the DeSantis camp, taking on Newsom is basically either a pitiful last try or an acceptance, I'm out for 24. There's no way I can beat Donald Trump. It's over. Yeah. DeSantis is done.
He's desperate.
And so as a result, there's no effect in the presidential race at all, because he's done. Don't you think that that's true?
In November of 2019, Joe Biden's campaign was done.
Yes, but Biden's situation against other candidates, even in that large field, was not 47 points.
No, you're right.
This is beyond. This election on the Republican side, barring Donald Trump dying or them putting him in prison, it's over. DeSantis is done.
I just disagree. I mean, in November of 1991, how many people outside of Little Rock knew who Bill Clinton was? He came out and he won. I'm just saying, I've seen campaigns declared DOA.
Okay, and I clearly understand. But you're applying reasonableness.
Well,
there's no reasonableness here. Ron DeSantis won that government, becomes governor, and then goes insane as governor of Florida in all of the stuff that we watched in pandemic. It's not like he's Bill Clinton in 91 of being unknown. The entire planet knows DeSantis. He can't sell his brand of crazy. The election on the Republican side is over. And let me take the opportunity of asking that question. Don't you think that there's a dramatic difference in DeSantis and Clinton in 91?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, as a result, there's no consequence of this except Newsom using it as, look, we're all going to get behind Joe Biden, which is what he's saying, because he's not going to run for president. Yes. But this guy is his age, and apparently everybody thinks that that's important. And remember, it's not going to be Kamala Harris, it's going to be me. And that's what he's getting. So there's all plus sides for Newsom. And this is a pitiful attempt on DeSantis to keep himself relevant of, I've been destroyed by Donald Trump. And as a result, I'm going to lick my wounds. And one of the ways I'm going to lick my wounds for my base is to attack one of the worst people in America of the compare and contrast to Florida and DeSantis, and that is Newsom in California. It's a genius, I think foolish, but a genius move on DeSantis's part.
The safe face to go out, to bow out.
I'm going to bow out gracefully by swinging.
By swinging and say, this is what I did. So when he comes back here to Florida, he's gonna use this again. Another high moment. Another high moment. This is what I've done.
That's exactly what I think is being set up. Yeah.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, then share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and in sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, Happening Out television network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Fay What, John Hayden, Elimination, and Dino Mosquera. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. and to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you good night.
Good night.
Everyone.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ plus community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.